I'm just waiting for it to turn to 6.
It is.
Okay, now it
Oh.
is. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda for May 9th.
Eric and Angela, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to open forum. The 30-minute open forum is the time the board sets aside to hear in-person comments from the public. Comments may also be emailed in advance of the meeting prior to 4 p.m. on the date of the meeting, and state in the email if you would like your correspondence read out loud to Daphne Pearson, District Clerk at pearsond@greenvillecsd.org. This is an opportunity for residents to voice general concerns or compliments, especially about items on the agenda. However, this is not the time to register complaints about specific individuals or about items that should be addressed confidentially through the proper channels. All comments shall be addressed to the district clerk and shall be limited to no more than 5 minutes per board policy 2180. Please note that members of the board may not be able to directly respond to citizens' concerns during the public open forum. Is there anyone that would like to say something? We don't have the podium today. Okay. All right, then I am going to move us on then. I would like to combine 5.1 through 5.3, which approve the minutes from 3 meetings, so April 11th, April 19th, and April 26th. I need a motion to approve all 3 sets of minutes.
Jay and Eric, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the finance reports for the month ending April 30th, 2022.
Eric, Angela, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to accept the Committee on Special Education recommendations.
Okay, Jay, in a second. Thank you.
Any discussion? I will recuse myself from this vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
Eric, Jay, thank you.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Mhm.
On items 1, 2, 3, we're being asked to vote on those without taking a look at them. You've seen them?
What's written is exactly what's in the MOA.
Okay.
That I take the bottom portion of it,
Is
which
that-
is the action part of it, and I write that in here.
All right. And they've been approved by the other side?
Yes.
Okay.
Go up inside. Yep.
That's it.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the revised 21-22 school district calendar. So the school district will close on May 26th and 27th as a result of not having to use all the snow and emergency closing days for the school year. In the event, the remaining snow days, never say never, where emergency days are required before this date, the district reserves the right to retain one or both of these dates as a school day.
Need a second? Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the 22-23 school district calendar.
Eric, need a second? Angela, thank you.
Any discussion?
This one confused me because I thought I was still looking at the other one.
Right, 22-23. All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve the 2022 through 2025 technology plan.
Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the consulting agreement between the Greenville Central School District and Needham Risk Management Resource Group for the 22-23 school year.
Duncan, second. Eric, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the contract between the Greenville Central School District and the Hoosick Valley Contractors, Inc. in the amount of $117,500 for new construction for the middle school, high school pavilion.
Eric, Duncan, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to award the refuse removal bid to County Waste Recycling Services out of Ulster LLC for 22-23.
Eric, Angela, thank you.
Any discussion? Yes, Duncan?
I noticed you said there was only one bid.
Mhm.
How many, do we go out and ask specifically?
We emailed them to 8 different bidders.
Really?
Yeah, we only got one back.
And only one back? And what's it, it's basically for a dumpster, right?
A few dumpsters.
Yeah, but it's not for individual garbage cans or anything, it's just dumpsters.
Yeah.
Wow. There's a lot of dumpster haulers around here. It just surprised me, only one bid.
And last year, did we also?
Same thing.
Same
One
thing?
bid.
Yeah, it just surprised me. I
Right.
was wondering if we were getting to the right people, but eight's more than enough, so.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to approve the senior trip to Rhode Island.
Eric, Angela, thank you.
Any discussion?
Sounds
Jay?
like fun. Sounds like fun. Newport's a great place.
Can you just use your microphone because otherwise on the recording, they can't hear us? Please.
Not that it adds much to the discussion, but it sounds like fun. Newport's a great place.
It does. I just had a question regarding chaperones because I guess they're going from one location to the other, but some are going to stay on the beach, so I'm assuming that there are multiple chaperones. Sounds like fun.
Correct, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, there are multiple chaperones.
I think he's got your mic.
Any other questions or anything? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the surplus fitness equipment bid awards in the amount of $620 to Auctions International.
Angela, Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Dave,
Yeah.
thank you.
I need a motion to approve the surplus items as listed below, the dishes and the silverware.
Jay, second. Eric, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
With that, I'm going to turn it over for discussion. And so the first thing, the board goals and objectives, we've attached the document there. And as we had mentioned, I believe it was in the previous meeting, then they're focused around 3 areas. So the transparency, accountability, and analysis. We then came out and developed 2 objectives for each one, which are listed on there. And for transparency, and then different board members are working on each of the ones. So, did you want to report out on yours? And then I also, under accountability, have something so I can report out, but I'll turn it over to you.
So did I as well.
Okay, all right.
Okay. It didn't go out. All right, so just reiterating what was on the board goal that we created. It says the board will foster an accountability culture throughout the district. And I took the time, as my role was to gather the information and put it into a document. So I emailed out to the population of board members a very simple question. My ask was, what are your priorities? And this is focusing on the accountability goal. And over a few days, we got answers back. I've included all the answers into a document and have mailed it out to the board members. I apologize for the lateness of my mail, but it went out this afternoon. And there is some overlap in the topics as far as what people figure are the important ones. And I believe that we said we would go with 3, so we have more than 3. We should get back together at some point, either via email, just have a short discussion, or a workshop or something, just to hash it out.
I don't know that we can via email.
I know.
So then we would either, prior to a meeting, carve out time at the end. I mean, what is the feeling here? The best way to do it?
We can do it in June.
We might actually end early today, so
No,
at this rate.
Well, let's do that.
Okay.
I don't want to jinx it.
Okay.
I'm scheduled to present mine in June.
So we'll play it by ear right now.
Since you were talking about accountability, I had the other one, accountability, and detailing the key dates for the super eval according to the timeline. So I sent that to everyone on the 6th, and just kind of laying out by month what are some of the dates that we need to keep in the back of our head as far as accomplishing input items and so forth. So I laid it out pretty much for the full school year. And Angela, did you participate in using that platform, the super eval? No. Okay, so then, yes, no, good.
I was going to say, maybe for those who are watching this, or will be watching this, you might want to explain what super eval is.
Okay, so super eval is a digital platform that the school uses in order to capture the information and evaluate then the superintendent related to the ongoing goals and items. In the past, what we've done is we've done it through paper, and it is not just time consuming, but it's not efficient, because what would happen is everyone would go off, write their comments, and then you'd have to consolidate everything. But more importantly, it was like, well, how do you weigh one person versus the other and the percentages? And so with super eval being a digital platform, each individual member goes through, and then the system itself calculates it and weighs it accordingly. And so I think that has probably been one of the best things. So it really focuses on what are the key elements and so forth. Would you feel, is there anything else that you can think of as you?
That was good, and you're right. In the past with the paper, it was a madhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But this basically gives us accountability for the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it very clear, both from our perspective and from the superintendent's perspective, what he is being evaluated on, and gives us a really, I guess, focused way of going through the process, which before was kind of hit or miss.
Right.
Yeah.
And it also holds us accountable, and there are specific dates that we need to meet and so forth. With that, thank you.
Yeah, I think that works.
I mean, does anyone else have any thoughts or anything? I think the key date being that it needs to be loaded into the system by July 1st. 2022. I did not put specific dates, but I'll shoot for the 1st. Okay, then Dave, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, I have a document, but one of the things I learned when I was a teacher that you don't hand out a document if you want to have people pay attention to you, but I'll trust you. We'll all be good students. I made 10 copies.
And
Can you just use the microphone for the recording, please?
Yep. So my topic was to increase the possibility of stakeholder engagement, public engagement. So this is not in any way to be construed as a finished proposal. It's just some ideas. I thought the topic was easy enough to, or the approach I took was I'm going to just present my ideas, and if it doesn't work out, if people shoot too many holes into it, then I'll come up with a different idea. But let me explain this, and then we can have a discussion, because there's a few things. We could hammer this out today, or if there's too many issues, then we'll come at it again. So this is kind of the first approach to it. So the purpose of this was to enhance engagement between stakeholders and the Board of Education, give a better opportunity. And I know Duncan's working on proposal to change our open forums during our meetings, but these will be either before or separate from our normal meetings. So this proposal, I provide them with 2 opportunities. And if you remember what we went through in our workshop, everybody had ideas about when, where, how many, and whom, and how many of whom. So I came up with an idea of having, so we're not going to more meetings. Currently, we're scheduled to do 35 next year, plus individual committee meetings. So the first one is the 2 one-hour conversations with the public would be, anybody that can, as far as board members, shows up at 5 o'clock. Normal board meeting starts at 6, and we would have a simple discussion with anybody that wanted to bring a topic to the board, as long as it follows the normal parameters of, not delve too much into, personnel issues and the other guidelines. And then the topics of these workshops may or may not be selected by the board. If there doesn't seem to be any obvious thing coming up, then we could have we could bring a topic to the public that shows up and have a discussion about that to get some feedback. Sometimes you actually have to start a conversation. Number 3, the board members would attend if possible. Everybody has constraints, and sometimes it's difficult to get here at 6. Even if you stop in mid-hour. 4 of the workshops will be moderated. That's a blank there. I wanted to know what people's thoughts on that was, whether or not we want to have our president moderate the meeting. I think there needs to be leadership of these things. Moderating may not be the word we want to use. Certainly not kind of control the conversation, guide it. But that needs to be decided, I think. And then number 5, I think it's important that previous to that particular month's meeting, if that's the month we're going to have one of these one-hour conversations, then it needs to be advertised and promoted so we get people to show up. It'll be on a trial basis. Maybe it'll be very popular. And then I think that it's important that these workshops will also be recorded and notes taken, and then all that will be made available to the public that weren't able to attend. And then, the key thing is not purposefully, but almost. Number 7, you know, if we start at 5 and our business meeting starts at 6, that kind of creates bookends. So discussions don't go on for a longer period of time. If need be, then obviously there's a topic that requires more lengthy discussion, or maybe steering it toward a staff member that can share longer discussion. Then number 8 is the standalone community workshops, which are separate from board meetings. And I going by what we generated during the workshops, it seemed like people wanted to have 2 of these meetings or opportunities for the public, or 3. There was 1 or 2 suggestions of 4. My idea is on these standalone community workshops is that we could have 1 scheduled on the calendar. And then if some topic comes up during the year that is, you know, we've got to sit down with the public and discuss this, then we can schedule another one of these. I think the venue will be in the same arena that we're in now. And I hope that doesn't kind of constrain people's voices, but you know, for normalcy, for etiquette, for ease, this is pretty easy to come to. Topics for these workshops will be ones that are pressing and obvious to both the board and the stakeholders. We probably are generating some in our minds right now that we could discuss. These meetings will be separate from the regular board meetings. They will be a maximum of 90 minutes, so again, going to kind of bookend it. Things will probably wander beyond 90 minutes, but they may also end. You know, sometimes discussions peter out. You know, people get a chance to share their ideas, and that's all they really wanted to do. And again, these workshops will be recorded and notes will be taken, and all that will be made available to the public. And then again, on 14, you know, we need to decide whether or not these need to be moderated, and maybe actually we could find a person that would do that for us. So we could step aside as, well, you can't step aside as a board member, but I'm searching for a word that would be, well, step off a soapbox maybe would be appropriate. You know, we're more joining a discussion, make people more at ease. Kind of concerned about some of the comments I've heard that people are not, they're afraid to come to a board meeting and share their concerns. That shouldn't be, I don't think. 15, attendance will be limited to 25 people selected by sign-up. Sign-up means to me that, you know, the first 25 that sign up, they're in. And then 16 additional community workshops can be added to the schedule if deemed necessary. If something really comes up and, you know, somehow it's communicated that, you know, we really liked those workshops, can we get one on this particular topic? And I think that we would all make ourselves available, or as many as possible, for 90 minutes at some time. I think action steps that we need to consider. Board needs to discuss, amend, then approve this proposal. Board needs to select dates for the 1-hour conversations and amend the calendar. Obviously, they need to be scheduled. And the board needs to select a date for the initial community workshop and amend the calendar.
I love everything you just said.
Yeah, I figured.
I think, like, I've been to board meetings as just a parent, and I felt very intimidated, and I didn't come back, but I think that our community really needs everything you just said, so it's very exciting.
Yeah, the idea is that we'd have to do this down the road, I mean, get it rolling and create a culture of, please come and talk to us, we're not gonna fail you, I won't grade you. But that might be a hang up for some people, right, because of their experience in the school, right? I mean,
We could,
Well, in the summer, if it's nice, we could do it outside,
Right.
so maybe that would be less intimidating. Duncan, were you going to say something?
I wanted to ask a couple of questions.
like, can you just
Okay.
use your microphone?
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
please.
why I was reaching.
please do, Duncan.
Wondering why, the first thing is number 3. I think if we're going to do this, it needs a commitment to the board. Obviously, anybody can miss a meeting because of something that happens, but I would hope that if we were going to do this, that it would be considered, you know, a requirement for the board. And the first question that brings to mind, could everybody start at 5 o'clock? And if we had 3 or 4 board members who just can't be here that early, then maybe we need to rethink that a little. Or maybe that night we start at 6, but the first hour is open and we have a late board meeting that night. That was the one thing that came to mind when I heard that. The next thing that I thought of, number 7, I didn't understand. Discussion will be limited in time, but not solely in topic. If we're going to have a forum, we were going to put, I thought you said up earlier,
You're right.
number 2, okay.
Yeah.
Number 2, you kind of set the agenda, and I'm wondering how we get off topic if we've only got an hour. That would concern me.
My thought, is it, you have any more questions, Duncan?
No.
My thought on that was, you know, if we brought a topic, but the topic really only could be discussed, hammered out, come to a solution in 15 minutes, then we could discuss other topics.
Okay.
But the time is the time.
So
On
if
those-
the topic wasn't concluded,
Right.
you stay on topic
Right,
until
we
we're
gotta
done. Okay,
Work on that word.
good, yeah, okay.
But you brought up a great point. It might be required or mandatory for us, you know, but I'm wondering, and what you were saying was, I wondered if we could try where it's just us. No superintendent. Obviously, we need Daphne because she's at board. But, you know, and then I wonder if that would loosen up people. If there's no administrators here, they're just gonna share their ideas with us,
I certainly wouldn't be against that.
you know, or we could try it.
First, I agree. Thanks for doing this, David. It looks, excuse me. Yeah. I think it's a great idea. It looks really good. My 2 comments/questions are one for the start time. Excuse me. I think most days I probably could be here at 5, but I think the question is more, what time could we start that anyone from the community would be able to get home from work and get here for it? I don't know if that's 5 or 5:30 or 6. So that's a question that I don't have an answer for, but just wanted to raise it. Second, on 15, limiting the attendance, I'd be happy if we have enough people signing up that we have to limit it. So I would suggest let's keep that as an option, but if for example, we're gonna have 27 or 28 people, I'd hate to tell 2 or 3, you know, you can't come. But if it gets to be big where we need to manage it in that way, then let's consider it. It's just my suggestion.
So I think Duncan said this too, but I missed it. Your idea was to shift the board meeting back and start these at 6.
I'm thinking the same thing Jay brought up, that
Yeah.
people,
Okay,
not
then-
just board members,
Right.
might not be able to make it. But as long as I'm on the mic, Jay's idea about going beyond 27 or 25 to maybe let them come in, I certainly would support that. If we had 55 people, it might become an issue, but I think one of the reasons you might want to limit it is to make sure that people who were that interested would have something to say in an hour. If we're doing this thing in an hour, okay, and going to start the board meeting after that, I think the interaction would be more favorable with lesser number of people. And if we got 25, we could probably figure out a way to adjust that down the line. But I'm not, again, I understand what you're saying, and I'm kind of supportive of that. But I want to make sure we've got a balance in there. If you got 35 or 40 people, and you got a 1-hour session, you can't get an awful lot of back and forth interaction with that many people if they all want to say something. That's all.
I think, to me, a couple of thoughts. I think it's important to keep it, I say informal. So maybe we bring cookies or something.
I don't bake.
I don't think.
Learn.
I eat.
And the second thing I want to mention is I understand the need for a topic, but I think we also should kind of be flexible that we may be thinking this way in the community is like, are you even aware of this? So somehow in there, we need to have a vehicle or a way to solicit input to say, what are some of the topics that you would like us to know, talk about, or anything else? I think that that's really important that we listen. And as you were talking, I actually thought back to the very first time that I spoke in front of the board, and my voice was shaking and it cracked, and I was reading something, and and I felt very comfortable speaking in public, and I still was extremely intimidated, and I knew everyone on the board. So so I think that there is a need for this, and so forth. And if it's the entire board, then we just need to make sure that it's posted accordingly and follow the rules and so forth. But I do like being able to interact more with the community here, not just at Stewart's.
Right.
For whatever it's worth, I agree. I like the idea of having some unstructured, like a unscheduled or structured time in there, so that it's not just this is a topic we're sticking to it, but there's at least a few minutes for people to say this is what's on my mind or what my concerns are, so that we, like you said, it's a better opportunity for a more open kind of two-way discussion, to listen as well as just to focus on the topic. But again, if we just carve out some chunk of the time to make sure there's an opportunity for that, I think we could fit it in.
Can I interact with Tracy for a minute?
Go right ahead.
Number 2, Trace. I hear what you're saying, and I agree. We want to have the ability to have input, but I thought number 2 set the groundwork for what would be at the next, or let's just say we're going to do this in August. In July, anybody who wanted to have a particular topic discussed would bring it up, and we could do that. But are you suggesting more extemporaneous issues just can rise up? Because that's part of the reason, I think, from what I'm getting in my short research on the open forums. The concern of many to get an interaction is that you wind up speaking as individuals, not as a board, and that it compromises other members of the board, perhaps, to have, a forceful person like yourself demonstrate your thoughts on an issue. Okay, I guess it just bothers me that if we're going to have some kind of a way of interacting with the public, that we don't get into a place where we're compromising ourselves as an institution, as a body, and that we ought to at least have the understanding as we're going into it what the topics are. Okay, that's all.
The sign up, in my mind, was only for the 90-minute standalone community workshops. And the reason, I didn't write it down because I forgot, no lie. The reason I wanted them to sign up is that they contacted the district office and said, sign my name up and I want to discuss this. The reason they might want to discuss, buying uniforms for the basketball team. Well, then maybe we need some documentation or bring somebody in to find out how the rotation of all that works, what the cost would be, versus they come to a meeting, they bring an issue, we don't know what they're going to bring, and then we have to say, well, we'll get back to you. 25 topics they bring up, we'll get back to you. That really stops conversation real quick when you say that too many times. But I understand Jay's concern about limiting the numbers to 25. I'm not limiting the numbers, but by having them call up or something to sign up, get their name on a list, that means that they're serious to me. That if 5 other people want to come along with that's fine with me. I don't want to slam the door on somebody. That's inappropriate. But and then I can see, the 1 hour conversations previous to board meetings. I'd like to be very comfortable, like you were saying, not too casual. If we have something to discuss, a topic, then we can bring that forward. And if they have 3 or 4 topics that and I hope those are not serious topics. They're something that they'd like to have a question about that they haven't heard an answer to. And if we can answer that question, or we can point them to, and then we all hear those concerns at the same time, at the same place, versus individuals hearing them other places and, outside of our meetings. Some clarification of my thought on that, but I want to leave it, I want to see how it goes first, and if we have to make adjustments, and we'll get the public to show up, that would be great.
Can I comment?
Please.
You read my mind on your last statement when you said, I want to do it and see how it goes. I think that this is an excellent first pass at something that's going to grow and change when we go through and do it. I mean, you might find 5 o'clock is perfect, or maybe 4:30 is better, or whatever. You don't know, but running it once or twice will tell us what works and what doesn't work. So I think this is an excellent outline for us to get our workshops together.
So do you want to pick some dates?
I don't have any in mind. But actually, October I was thinking, our meeting in October, because things are rolling. September is always kind of busy anyway. And then, obviously, for the short ones, before or after the January break. And then by then, if they like them, people show up, everybody loves it, then we can schedule another one in the springtime or something. If no one shows up in January, then something went wrong, picked the wrong time, or that's my idea. I can come out with hard dates, and then you can make suggestions, I guess.
So pretty much if we're all in agreement, then we could set one up for October. What do people feel about that? Start with one, and we may have to tweak it as we go along and so forth, but let's start it.
Sounds like a great start, October.
There you go.
Yay, October.
There you go.
Good job, Dave.
My goal might be done. Yay.
There we go. That's like anything else related to the goals or the discussion around goals.
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Not
There's,
yet.
there's topics there.
Okay.
Dave, there's topics.
Do you want me to then to edit the Board of Education calendar, which is draft, and on one of these?
For discussion.
6.3, to add the October 17th to start at 5 o'clock?
Yes, please.
And it is is it a community one, or is
Yes.
it a 2-hour, it's a community one?
Yep, just a 1-hour conversation. Anybody have a better suggestion for, I was thinking coffee hour, but then no one's gonna make coffee. And you can't have coffee without donuts.
I can arrange that,
Really?
absolutely.
Okay.
I think some kind of snacks, we have to do it.
Right?
Yeah.
People will come for snacks.
Miss Tracy's cookies.
Yeah, not mine. Okay, wonderful. Then I would like to move us on to 6.2, which is the first reading, and update to policy 5110, the instructional policy. So what we had is the policy committee met, and there are 3 policies right now dealing with instruction. We have 5110, 5120, and 3170, and they were essentially kind of all related to the same, but it was one policy in 3 different places. So the committee met, and then this also stemmed from the policy had elements of committees that were no longer functioning. So it was updated to better reflect instruction and moving forward at Greenville. So the one that is in there, so basically policy 5110 will remain, and policies 5120 and 3170 then will be retired. So this would be the first reading. If anyone has any thoughts or any suggestions.
My only comment is that I believe the policy committee met 4 or 5 times on this particular topic starting a year and a half ago.
I think more than 4 or 5.
Yeah. Okay.
There were a lot of discussions over a long period of time. It took some effort, I think, to get our heads around how to think about how to consolidate the different policies into one that made sense, like updated in a way that I think tries to reflect what is currently being done, but describes it in a way that is kind of open-ended. So if the particulars of how we might say review curriculum now change, you don't have to change the policy. So it's flexible that way. And I think, so it does clarify some of those elements, like the curriculum review, for example, and kind of who does what, when, and how.
So the next steps would be next month, then it would go to a second reading, and then we would have a motion to adopt it. Is that the second meeting, or is it at a subsequent?
Usually after the third one.
Okay, so then at next month's meeting then. We have then the draft 22-23 Board of Education meeting calendar on this. So this one definitely is going to revise it. Now, one of the things on this calendar that we do have is we have a board retreat, and right now it is scheduled for the end of August. So I think the 29th, it is kind of late, and I don't know if people will be going on vacation. So do people have thoughts now? In the past, we have done it earlier. We've done it July, early August. And we moved it back specifically last year, but I think in previous years it had been a little earlier. So are people fine keeping it at the end of August? Would we want to move it to the beginning of August, or?
Well, why did you move it?
It was scheduling availability, I'm sure.
Well, then I have no problem with it where it is.
think that does conflict. You just scheduled vacation. I think I probably can't make it at the end of August.
Right.
If we could have the workshop anyway, plan for it that day, or if we do want to look for a different day, we could also, let's see, can it be, I don't remember, can it be changed after we can be changed after we adopt the calendar, right? If there's need to.
It's a draft, so I bring it up so we can change it. It is close to Labor Day, and I know some people take that week off, so that's where, to me, it just presented a problem. So then we can compare calendars and move it earlier than in August, if everyone's okay with that. Okay, right, we'll do that. Was there anything else on our calendar for that? Okay, that would just be it. Then next 6.4 is the school improvement and district goals development calendar. So on this one. And Mike, did you want to talk about this calendar?
So this calendar is really organized.
Doesn't
Sorry.
like you today.
It does not like me. This calendar is organized in such a way that we are able to put together our school improvement and our district goals and development.
Yours off and I'll give you mine.
That seems to be better. So again, what we're looking to do is to put our school improvement, as you know, is a big part of what we're trying to do, especially at the middle level, and tying our district goals to that. So what this calendar does, lays out for the year where and what we'll be doing. Again, open for some revision as we move forward with this, but this is kind of where we're at right now.
I just had one comment as we go through for the school improvement. We are required to submit into the DCI plan into SED by the end of July. So we have right now, July 27th, then a presentation kind of going through on the profiles and the evidence of completion. Then we have on the July 11th meeting, then sharing out of the district goals and so forth. And so I just want to make sure that everyone is comfortable with that's enough information for the DCIP plan to be submitted in July, because we would not approve it until August because of calendars. So that's one thing that I just wanted to point out.
I think it depends on how much information we have then. I think just summary or outline information wouldn't be enough. Want to have a substantial idea of what the plan actually is. I think if we're going to be able to form an opinion of it before it's submitted, understanding the vote might take place later. But again, I think having some understanding of what the meat of it will be.
In understanding that, I think one of the things that the board needs to understand is as we get into the end of the school year, when a lot of that work is being developed with teachers, it's the time we have with teachers. We do have some meetings at the last week of June to kind of go over with some of those people to look at the data, to go through that. And then in the beginning of July, I believe it's the second week in July, the feedback from those committees and those meetings we've got 2.5 days with our cabinet to kind of review all that information so we can put it together. I think the biggest thing that we've got to make sure we do is have the time to go through all that. And so one of the things that we can do is, as we go through this process, I think that there may be an opportunity for some of that information, if it's not all set for that board meeting, to review with some board members to kind of go over what the meat of the plan is.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I think it would be helpful, and I'm happy, I'd be happy to take extra time in between the meetings to talk to you and see what you have,
Sure.
to understand what it will be.
Yep.
Thanks.
I think one other thing for the DCIP is that parents need to be on that committee. So, so that may be something in looking who's on the committee, just to ensure that we have parents.
Yep.
Actually, follow-up question on that. I think the committee also requires teachers, right?
And when we have our district level meetings that we kind of build off our building level team meetings, some of the work that we do during that has parents and teachers on that.
Great. I would just ask that for the parents, that you have at least some parents who are not employees. I mean, I understand that some of the teachers are also parents, but I think for the parent category, it's important to have some separation, have representation of parents who are not employed by the district on the committee as well. I don't remember who's on there now, but just if you could,
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay, so then, so 6.5 reminders. We've got the annual budget vote on May 17th from 1 to 9 at Ellis at the cafeteria. And then we have on June 13th, the business meeting at 6 p.m. So 2 reminders for calendars. Then we also have, moving on to 7.1, input items for future discussion. Does anyone have any topics that they would like to discuss or have us add to the agenda? And I'll jump at once.
Well, I guess if we're gonna have discussion items, we can discuss the content that came in for accountability.
Okay.
I mean, if we're not doing it tonight, we can do it in June.
Anything else? Okay. Closing open forum. Please note the same guidelines apply as stated during the first open forum. Is there anyone that would like to say anything?
Just be
Great, I'm not quite sure. There we go. Thanks, Gina.
Just wanted to say that listening to the meeting and listening to David's proposal or whatever it is for the stakeholder input meetings and the community forums is a great idea. I'm excited about that. No, thanks. I think that perhaps having a topic in place is probably a good idea. Although I know as parents we kind of have concerns that we do want to bring up, so maybe there is a way to survey the community before the meeting if you're requesting that people sign up for that. Maybe that's at that same time that you ask, what could be a topic. I also think that, when you're coming to the board and you have concerns, you also want to see change or you want to see action happen. So I think that what's important for me is that it's not just a forum where we're talking but then nothing happens afterwards. So I would encourage, whether there's feedback or if there's an action item that can happen by the board or the administration, I would encourage that. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, then I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to seek legal advice from our attorney, which is made privileged by law, and to discuss the contract negotiations.
I have Angela. Second, Eric. Thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.